Hey, 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 hey. What's up, y'all? Welcome to Speak Pink. We're so very glad you're on with us. Hey, come on now. Now do us a favor, to let somebody know that another great episode has gone out. And so share this with someone. I know it's going to be helpful. But for all of you that are listening, we're so very grateful. Hey, hey. Thank you. Hey, everyone. Thank you for being tuned in to another episode of Speak Pink. I am your girl, Reverend Ajuma, and I'm so very grateful to each and every one of you that take time to listen to our weekly podcast, Speak Pink. We're all about pretty. We're all about purposeful. We're all about power. And we love to talk about all things inspirational, motivational, encouraging, and empowering. And I think it's important that we have these kinds of mediums available. And I'm just grateful to be able to pour out and pour into. Do me a favor, after you've listened to this podcast, would you do me a favor and send me a message on my Instagram account at RevJuju, RevJuju, and just shoot me a DM or post up a message. Or how about this? Screenshot that you're listening to the podcast. Screenshot it and then post it on Instagram for me. And again, my Insta handle is RevJuju. See, the people need to know, the world needs to know that Speak Pink podcast is lit and that we are here offering some great stuff every week. This week, I want to talk to you about an experience I had over the weekend. Yeah, this weekend, I went with some friends to go hiking. And we went hiking up to Echo Mountain. Now, if you're not from California, this may not make any sense to you at all. But Echo Mountain is, just like in the valley area of Los Angeles County. And it's this really high mountain. And on the scale of mountain trails or mountain hikes, this particular trail was designated as hard, Hard. Now, I didn't know that when I agreed to go hiking. A group of friends invited me to go, and I, being the adventurous type, and I'm quite the adventurous type, plus I'm slightly competitive. I have a competitive edge, so if you invite me to do something that I don't normally do, I will usually not turn it down. I'll try something, most things, at least once. Most things. I'm still not ready to jump out of airplanes, but that's a whole nother podcast. So I agreed to go hiking this past weekend, up Echo Mountain Trail, which I did not know was designated as hard, but I soon found out. And this was not just any hike. It was not the typical morning hike or midday hike. No, this was an evening hike. They intentionally set it up that we would go in the evening, so we would be up at the top of the mountain right after sunset to see the beautiful landscape of Los Angeles as the sun is going down. Now, fast forward this story. It was a beautiful sunset. It was a beautiful view. And if you go to my Instagram page, you'll see some pictures posted. It was ideal. It was beautiful. What I want to talk to you about today, though, is not the beauty of the view, but every step it took to get there. Listen, that was not an easy hike. And beyond it being designated as a hard trail, Hard, hard trail, there were times in that trail, in that hike, that I really wanted to give up. That I really wanted to turn around and say, forget it, I can't do anymore. So so in the beginning of the hike, I first noticed it was hard for me to breathe. and I remember the guy, his name was Tyrone, he looks back at me, he says, don't worry about it, in a little bit your lungs will open up. And you know what? At about mile 1, my lungs did open up. But for that first mile, I was breathing hard and heavy because it was not easy. And then to add pain to the process, I soon discovered this was a real uphill hike. Like, this wasn't just a trail around the mountain. Like, this was uphill. And with every bend that we passed, it felt like the incline got sharper and sharper, which meant my muscles were working harder and harder. And we hadn't even gotten to mile 1, and already my legs and my gluteus maximuses were burning in such a way that I really wanted to quit. I wanted to quit, y'all. And then to add to the challenge, just after we hit mile 1, a little thing called a rattlesnake decided to join us on the trail. Yes, y'all, a rattlesnake. Now, interestingly, our guide Tyrone, he didn't see the rattlesnake, but I saw the snake. And I stopped and I backed up and I called out to Tyrone, and he was calm, cool, and collected. He started kicking at the snake so it'd go away. And you know what it did? It just slivered off. But I was stuck in my tracks, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I was shook. I've seen rattlesnakes behind cages, behind glass at the zoo. But there was a rattlesnake just less than maybe 3 or 4 feet from me, if that. And I just remember thinking, are snakes like cockroaches? If you see one, there's at least 20 somewhere else. And Tyrone was like, no, Rev, you good. But I can tell you guys, I didn't feel so good. And I was nervous from that point on. And then, so here we are at about a little more than 1.5 miles. And even though I know I'm getting closer, it really didn't feel like we were getting closer. Now, I'm going somewhere with this, I promise you. And I kept wondering, how much further do I have to walk? And at some point, I just locked in to the steps. Because the more I thought about how much further it would be till we got to the top, it felt like the top got further and further away. So here was my strategy. I locked my eyes in on the trail right in front of me. And just remember telling myself, just keep taking every step. Just take the step, take the step. If you keep taking the step. And I really should have tracked the number of steps it took for me to get from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain. I know I did more than 10,000 that day in that short period of time. And I can tell you guys, it was a lot of steps and a long way up. And so in reflection of that day, here's some things that I want to share with you about steps. Like once I locked in on the steps and just kept taking the step and kept taking the step and kept taking the step, I got that much closer to the top of the mountain. Steps are interesting because they're small and they're short, and if you're like me, only 5'5", you could only step so far. One of the other people who was with us was a young man who was clearly 6 feet or taller, and one of the things that he said is, well, I have long legs, so when I step, my steps are further. So he probably took way less steps than I took. And because my body was feeling it and I was tired, I couldn't take long extended steps. All I could do was take a whole bunch of small steps. And again, I remember locking into the trail and just honing into the trail. And if I just keep taking these little baby steps, I'll get there. What is it that you're facing in life that you want to do, be, had, and or possess? But in between you and that thing, that situation, that outcome, is a whole lot of baby steps. And here's where I want to encourage you today. You've got to take every step. There was no way for me to get to the top of the mountain or even to get back down if I didn't take all of my steps. Steps are important because they may not feel like much individually, but collectively, when you collect a bunch of steps, you get further than you ever expected you could get. So all I did was honed in. I locked in and said, just collect steps. Just 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, 5 step, 6 step, 7 step, 8 step, 9 step, 10 step. Step, 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 step. Just keep stepping. And you know what happened, guys? Gals? We come to a signpost that says Echo Mountain, 0 miles. And I was like, why does it say 0 miles, Tyrone? He says, because you made it. See, that's the other piece of encouragement that I want to give you, inspiration, is that those little baby steps may not feel like much, But collectively, they get you where you're trying to get to. And listen, I don't know what it is you are facing, what it is you have to do, what it is you have to become. But don't negate the baby steps. Don't negate the steps in between. Don't try to go around them. And the only way I could have gone around those steps was we call for a helicopter pickup. That would be the only way to circumvent me doing all the steps. And so I get to the top and we look at the view, and the view is beautiful. The air is crisp and clean. It is nice. And we have pictures to prove it and show it. And I kept thinking about all the steps it took to get here. And you might be thinking about all the steps you have to take to get there. But I promise you, when you get there, wherever there is, there might be a job. There might be a vision come to pass. There might be a client base that you develop. I don't know what your there is. I don't know what your Echo Mountaintop is. But here's what I do know. You gotta take all of the steps to get there. There's no skipping steps. I couldn't skip steps even if I wanted to. I had to take every step. And no step was greater than the other step because all the steps were a collective to get me where I needed to get to. And listen, there are no baby steps and major steps. I mean, there are some big moves and big major moves and small moves. But my point is, as it relates to stepping, everything is needed. Every step is necessary, whether it's a big step or a small step or a humongous step. Every step is necessary to get you where you want to go. Every step is necessary. You don't get to skip a step. Every step was necessary to get you where you're trying to go. And so, wherever it is you're trying to go, I want to encourage you with these 3 final points. Number 1, take every step. Don't try to negate a step because every step gets you to where you're going. Number 2, all of your steps collectively get you where you're trying to get to. All of them. All of your steps get you. So whether it's a major step or a minor step, don't diminish any steps because every step collectively is a part of you getting there. So there are no massively important steps and any unimportant steps because all the steps matter. Every step matters. Every step matters. And really, truthfully, by the time I got to the top of Mount Echo and I saw the view, the steps really weren't so bad. I forgot about how bad it was and just took in the goodness. And that's the last thing I want to tell you is that when you finally get to the top, wherever that is for you, where you finally get to your goal, the steps it took to get you there won't really be so bad. They'll be worth it. They will be worth it. And so take every step. Don't minimize any step. Every step has an importance. Don't just do the heavy steps and forget the minor steps because really the minor steps, the small steps are really the cooking, the sauce of it all is the little steps. And every step matters because it's a collective of steps. It was a collective of steps that I took on Sunday along the trail that got me to where I was Sunday night, which was at the top of the mountain. And then once we got to the top, guess what we did? We celebrated. And I want to encourage you with this. A celebration is coming because you refuse to quit stepping. A celebration is coming because you refuse to skip any steps and you took every step. A celebration is coming because every step you're taking right now matters. And I want you to celebrate every step. You matter. Your steps matter, and where you're trying to go matters. So take every step and celebrate the steps along the way. And I don't know where you're trying to get to or trying to accomplish, but there are steps in between, and you've got to take every step that's required. Every step. So listen, save the date, August 22nd, 7 a.m. Remember, we have released the creative part 2. If you email me, livingonassignment@gmail.com, you get to come free. All right? So thank you all for joining us for another hot episode of Speak Pink. Peace.